Welcome into the Collective Consciousness Show, episode number 26. I have with me my best friend, my spiritual twin, Jordan Cook. She's been on one episode. It was like the third episode or whatever it was. And it was very good. But for the first
long time ago.
Yeah. For the first time in studio, please welcome to the Collective Consciousness Show, Jordan Cook. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm happy that I get to do this again. Redeem myself a little bit.
Well, the first one was good.
The first one was good.
We were just showing off our crystals and stuff, you know. That's basically how it went for an hour.
I feel like we were like 12 though. We were like barely 12.
No, I wasn't even 18 at that point.
Yeah, me either. I think we were both like, realistically, I think we were both 16.
I was on 17 probably.
17. I'm pretty sure I was 16 though, because
Yeah.
your birthday had passed, and I think this is during quarantine too, right?
Yeah, that's why we did it over Zoom, because we couldn't like hang out or do anything.
Also, time didn't
Yeah.
exist during quarantine, so all this is irrelevant.
No, time really didn't exist. It was kind of crazy. I mean, it was just like everything either flew by or went super slow. But
Unreasonably too.
we ended up right where we were supposed to be, and now we're here and we're doing this podcast, and it's great. And it's getting more and more consistent.
It is.
So
Very proud of you.
yeah, thank you. So we wanted to talk a little bit about like lessons, like soul lessons that we have to learn with other people, you know, karmic relationships and
Yeah.
stuff.
Different titles
Yeah.
and labels and stuff.
Yeah. And that's something both of us have dealt with a lot.
It's such a big topic with like many different terms,
Yeah.
but it's so darn interesting.
I know, because it's not only with like friendships, but it's just like any type of relationship in general. So like romantic relationships, you know, friendships, relationships between, you know, brothers or brother and sister, or you know, mom and, you know, mother and son, or mother and daughter, whatever it is. It's all types of different relationships that may have been carried on from past lives,
Yeah.
stuff that you know need to learn that you haven't learned yet, and
You make binding contracts about this stuff.
Yeah.
In the astral plane, you know, you really do. When you're just, you know, you team up with your spirit guides, you know, and you make binding contracts. You know, I feel, and these contracts are called like soul contracts. People call them. It's pretty interesting. But then, also, like what you said about the parent thing too in the families, like your moon sign can actually tell you like more about your parent actually too, which is really interesting. But a lot of kids actually, like if they lack something, like in the astral, or like if your soul's like, oh, like I need to learn X, Y, and Z, your parent can teach you that. So we get to, I think, some cases have a little bit of say about like what parents we choose and why.
Yeah, and that's crazy to think about, because I never I probably would have chose different parents. You know, like
You
like
wouldn't?
me, you know, me like now thinking like this isn't this is like Earth Colin talking. I probably would have chose different parents, because this isn't like any disrespect or anything to any of my to my mom or my dad, but like I probably would have, because it's not the perfect situation. Divorced parents, don't have a good relationship with my mom.
Yeah.
I have a great relationship with my dad, but
yeah.
it could always be better. So if I could build the perfect dad, he's not the perfect dad, obviously, but he's a really, really good dad. I mean, he's not, you know, I wouldn't trade him for anyone else at this point. But if I had the choice of like building the perfect, you know, mom and dad,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have the ones that I would have now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, no one or nothing is perfect, and that's why we reincarnate to learn the lessons that we're supposed to. It balanced out.
Right. I
Dang, you got dang. I hope your dad's not hearing
no,
this.
no, I think he understands, but I mean, yeah, divorce is tough, you know?
Yeah,
Makes you think about parents and stuff. Like, I know that I'm going to be like a really good dad one day,
because of
because
this experience.
because I've seen, and I don't want my kids to have to go through that. And you know, if they ever do, I'm gonna be there for them in all the ways that my parents couldn't be or weren't by choice because of the divorce. And the divorce is hard on everybody, not just the kids. It's also hard on the parents too.
And the family members
Yeah.
of the parents
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
And but at the end of the day, that's no excuse to treat your children like they're less than, or that, their opinions don't matter or whatever, because that's really tough. Like, a lot of
I know, yeah.
my friends, they either have divorced parents or their parents are, they don't have a great relationship, and they're just staying together for whatever reason they're staying together. And it sucks. It really sucks. It sucks for the parents. It sucks for the rest of the family. It sucks for the kids. And me as a kid, I just feel like,
because we
I
have
have to do my part to
we have a lot of
help
stuff
people.
though, like you said, that we get repressed, because we are kids,
Yeah.
Like, I remember growing up and I was thinking about this. I was always called sensitive as a kid and told to toughen up and stuff, and some of that was true to a certain extent, but then it wasn't, because I'm kind of, I'm pretty in touch. So when I would get called sensitive, it was just there was no validation of my emotions, so what I was sensing and stuff, which was usually right too, which was kind of ironic. But it was not until I went away to college, and I started embracing, all different parts of me, including how sensitive I was, and then and just how what I felt and what I would pick up on, and people that would try to tell my family or my friends. Oh my God, the change! I felt so much more confident, because I was embracing myself on my own terms, without, my mom, my dad trying to reprimand me sometimes, or teachers or family members or anything like that, So it's very powerful when you move away from that energy, though, that, still might have tried to keep you, I guess, stuck in one way,
Mm-hmm.
or really not trying to see your perspective. I think that's a big issue that certain family members, especially some parents, might have. When you tell them a problem, they see the solution through their perspective, not yours.
Right.
Like we talked about that one time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we've talked about this a lot, and this is something a lot of people do come to me for advice about stuff, and sometimes it's hard, even though people are oh, Colin, you give great advice.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever you're giving advice, and this is for anybody, not just me, not just you, anybody that's ever giving advice, you're giving it from your perspective and your experiences, which can never be 100% true. So don't go into it thinking I have all the answers, because then, you're going to end up shutting the other person out, and that's a really tough balance.
You need to be objective.
Yeah, right. And especially when you're dealing with your own problems, you have to be objective, because then it's
listen to your own
yeah,
advice.
right.
Yeah.
Because then oh, I've gone through all this different stuff. This is what works. But sometimes different stuff works. You have to change it up a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
You have to, yeah. Or else the same lesson or the same situation will keep coming back over and over and over and over again.
Right. And I wanted to go back to something you said. You said people would try and tell you to toughen up and stuff, which is pretty ironic, because you are very tough, people confuse being sensitive for being soft and not being tough, not being able to stand up for yourself. You can be very sensitive, but you can also be very tough and very Jesus was this way. Jesus, he was a very sensitive and kind and loving and compassionate guy, but he was very tough. He was very, he told the high priests and the Pharisees, you are wrong. You are going to stop this now, because that is not what is right. And that's why people listen to him. So you can be sensitive but tough.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
because
you're good. Yeah.
I'm happy and grateful, because I kind of went, I guess it's called conformant. I went away from that conformant and stuff, which was great. And you kind of did too, but mentally, you kind of really went away and figure some stuff out. But some people don't, some people don't, and that really affects them, so they get into a disempowered state, where they might kind of not be able to process things emotionally in an emotionally mature way. They might not be able to give or receive advice, or they might just be like overly sensitive, or overly tough, overly demanding, because of how they grew up, which is kind of insane, but that's the effect of it.
Yeah, and I think it's super important for people to remember that this isn't only the way that you act towards other people, it's also yourself too.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you have to just like go away, take a break from your thoughts and all that. Just like sit down, just calm your mind, relax, and just shut out everything else.
Everything.
Sometimes you have to go dark. You for a day or a couple days or a week or a month, whatever it is, because you have to have that time to kind of retract. And
yeah, I like that word, retract.
Yeah, you have to retract, kind of curl up into your own shell.
Yes.
And that's honestly where you learn the most stuff.
Yes.
You learn the most when you're alone and uncomfortable and in a dark place.
Yep. Or if you have to cry
Right.
too.
No one ever growed by being in a comfortable position. No one ever got better at a video game by staying on easy mode. Sometimes you got to dial up
and you
the
have to
level.
crank it up.
Yep, you have to crank it up, and you have to get in an uncomfortable position, make things tough for yourself. That's where you learn. That's where you grow. It's not where you're comfortable that you would learn anything. Being comfortable that's nice. It's nice to have a cozy, warm
Who doesn't
bed
like
when you
that?
go to sleep.
I like being comfortable. I love being comfortable.
Yeah, but it's not. That's
It's not the way.
Right. It's not the way. It's not how you learn. It's not how you grow. And that's for anybody. That's how you act towards other people and yourself. You have to get out there and do stuff that you don't like doing.
And I feel like what you're talking about is like situationally based, like with career and job. So with like if you have a goal or like applying, for example, like right now I'm applying to scholarships and getting out there, and doing some things I'm kind of uncomfortable with, but like I see the results of it in the long run, or potential results of it. But also this what you talked about, like not being so stagnant and instead like being more fluid with certain things and be like, okay, I got to do this, that, and the third, and get out there. It's the same emotionally. It really is. Like I don't think I told you this. I don't know if I did or not, but I did tell you about like my mindset shift, like either being fixed in one mindset or being too engaged in like lower vibrational like habits of crying all the time, being upset, worry, and it's just either one or the other. And I've learned how to kind of balance that. But before that, like you said, getting uncomfortable. I saw this one YouTuber, and she's a tarot reader, but she also she runs her thing like a podcast. So that's why I listen to her. She's really cool. She's kind of like how you have everything set up. And she just said one day, and I really related to this. She said one day, like all my trauma, that I've been experiencing for the past 6 years came up. And like I felt it, and it sucked. Emotionally, I was like feeling so low, and I wanted to shut it out. But then she said, "I'll give this a week. I'll let my emotions, the trauma, the experiences, the thoughts, all of it just like sizzle around me and just stay in like the room of my mind, and I'll just let it stay." And she figured like a lot of stuff out by doing that. And I tried that, and it really did work, So I also think getting more comfortable with your emotions and validating your emotions too, and your experience. Because especially as a woman, but you can relate to this too as a human, trying to get someone to validate you is just not the way, it's, and that's a whole nother spiritual lesson that, has to be learned. Validating yourself.
Yeah. Well, like everyone is always going to have something to say. No, like you're never going to be able to please everybody, because you can make someone else happy, but by making that person happy, you're also gonna disappoint someone else. So it's like whack-a-mole. Whack one, the other one comes up.
Oh my goodness!
Like that's In a way, that's how it is, because you cannot please everyone. You cannot do everything at once. So you have to kind of get in your own mind and say, I am worth it. I do deserve
Yes.
this or that, or, whatever it is. I deserve this promotion. Even if you getting promoted means that someone else doesn't get promoted. That doesn't mean that you were the bad guy. That doesn't mean that you did anything. It means you worked for that, So don't shut yourself down, And that's the first thing. And the second thing is feel your emotions. Because when you sit there and say my emotions don't matter, it's just how it is. That's the way it is. That's the way life goes. Whatever. You can't do that because you're shutting yourself out. You're invalidating your own feelings. And when other people see you doing that, they think it's okay to do it to you.
Yep, and you attract certain people that will do it to you.
Right. So sit there and feel your emotions, but do not let it affect your day-to-day daily life. Feel those emotions. Be sad, be upset, be angry, be disappointed, but don't let it stop you from taking care of yourself, from eating healthy, from drinking water.
That's interesting that you say that, though, because I have to give myself time to feel it. And I'm like, if I need a few days and I can afford to take off work or not go to a certain class, and I'll do that.
Yeah, well, that's just how I operate. I can be sad about something.
But also you're a Capricorn too, and you're just work.
Yeah, no, I can be sad and disappointed, but I will not let it affect my performance, because that's super important to me, because there are people that count on me. There are people that need me. I'm counting on me. I need myself to be there for me. So that's just how I'm wired to operate that way. And I think it's important, but seriously though, feel your emotions, but don't let it consume you and I guess this is the real point. Don't let it consume you to the point where you can't feel anything else, you can't do anything else, you can't talk to anybody, you can't go to work.
Well, I feel also, and I have two things to say with what you just said, because what you're talking about is kind of the state that I can get in, where it's just I will not let my emotions affect me in my daily life, the important stuff. But it's just interesting because even that can slightly lead to a fixation and being fixation and being I don't feel any emotions, and being too stoic. It can really lead into that, just like you said, don't let your emotions consume you.
Right, you become numb.
Yeah, because I know with me though, I'm the opposite, because it's just I need to take a few days, I need to rest, I need to listen to my music, I need to shower, I need to just, do what I got to do, and then I get consumed in that way into my emotions, versus getting fixated out of them, so I think that's really interesting. I don't know if it's because you have more testosterone in you and I have more estrogen and chemicals.
Yeah.
It might be because you're a guy, but again, I'm very different.
Yeah, that might be it. But I specifically remember times where I would be at work and I would be sad or disappointed. And that's what I would be thinking about, but I would not let it affect my performance. I would not sit there and say, God, I'm so sad, I'm just going to stand here and do nothing all day.
Yeah.
I would be sad and I would feel that and I would feel sad, but I would still go and do what I had to do, take the order or pull the food or whatever I had to do,
Yeah, of course.
Because that was my job, and that's what I was there to do, even if I was sad. But I would still kind of feel it, if that makes sense. I think we're kind of wired in different ways.
Yeah, it's just interesting. No, because it's just also there's a balance too, because sometimes you do need to get like that, and then sometimes you need to just kind of bask and be
and I think in general what you're saying is true, because
it's different coping mechanisms,
right,
though. It really is.
Because men typically do feel like I got to push through, I got to do it. And women are typically I need some time.
Yeah.
Which is totally okay, and it can be the other way too.
Yeah.
But I think that makes a lot of sense. That is typically
the way, though, most of the cases. But
right.
but that's not exclusively to that, because some people are also both. You
right.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Sometimes, and usually not, but sometimes I'll just be I'm taking this day.
Yeah.
And it's fine to have one of those days. It's fine to be unproductive, as long as you know when to say when, and you know when to get up and get off your ass and do something.
And do something.
Right, and not feel sorry for yourself all the time.
Oh yeah.
Do it for a day, do it for 2 days, but don't let it consume you.
Yeah.
And now we're saying the same stuff. So,
but it's like back to square one. But it's so interesting because I never thought that was like a masculine versus feminine trait or thing or energy,
Right.
type of thing. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, problem solving is like because men and women's brains are just wired differently naturally. So problem solving is different, like.
Yeah.
Like men are typically very like cut and dry, straightforward, like boom, and typically women are more like there's more ways to do things, and there's more like instead of going straight to it, let's hit this stop because that can also be productive too. And like a lot of like I see a lot of men be upset with women because they're like, oh, they're just all over the place. They're just like, they go here to go there to go there. But in their mind, it's productive and it means something. It's just
because it does mean something, and it's worthwhile.
Right.
Like I saw this one example, and by the way, it's not just exclusively for men and women. Like you can be a man and be feminine, and be a woman and be masculine, or just be a person and be whatever. I just want to say that so everyone who watches, like, because everyone deserves to feel heard and validated. And because it's just true, but I did see this one TikTok where this one guy was like, yeah, a man and a woman can both see a bunny, and the man can be like, oh, that's a bunny, and the woman could be like, oh my gosh, like that's a bunny, and like just like see it in a different light,
Mm-hmm.
Because women naturally, we are, I don't want to say emotional, but we're more hardwired to tap into like deeper things,
Right.
That's why we're so connected to the freaking moon and cycles and phases. And men tend to be, well, I mean, it's like testosterone, estrogen, but men, do tend to be like a little bit more like, I guess, like what I said earlier, like tunnel vision, like, let's go fight and win, like let's just focus. I think that's very interesting. I remember Malcolm X. Have you ever read a little bit about Malcolm X or anything? Because he's a really
I know
dude.
who he is, and I know a little bit of his stuff. I haven't read any books or listened to any speeches, but I'm familiar with who he is.
Yeah, he's really cool, but he was like he like really stood up for women in one of his speeches, and he was like, within a marriage, like a woman might see something differently, but make sure to listen to her. He was talking about like marriage and relationships, but I thought that was really interesting and amazing for that time period. I don't know how this intertwines into what we're saying, but I just thought of it, so I wanted to say it. Because I think that matters too, and having like public figures speak about women empowerment. We don't really see that much.
No, and it's becoming more and more prominent,
normalized,
for people to do that, which is, which is good, because in the end we want it to, balance out in the way. So that because it tips the scale to like kill all men, or like all women are sluts and whores, and they only want men for money, and they only they're using men, because you see a lot of that too, where it's like polar opposites.
No, it's either like this or this.
Yeah, right.
And the media kind of also like what we talk about.
Right.
The media puts its stuff out in order for people to be like just like, or to be entertained by it, or just
right.
like, but that's not the full story of everything,
Right. Well, yeah, and it's, and here's another thing, and I guess we'll get into this a little bit. Like, a woman can post a picture of her in like a bikini or something, and then men are like, oh, she's just showing off her body, she's being a horse. But a man posts a picture of himself with his shirt off,
with two girls,
or that, or just by himself, like at the gym or something, and people are like, "Oh yeah, go get it, man! Like you're doing great, good for you. You're out there, you're working hard, and you're working for all you're worth, and you're doing good." But for women, it's like, "Oh no, you just want to use men, show off your body,
you're
whatever.
Just a try hard.
You can't be confident, but men, you can, you see that a lot.
I've experienced
Right.
that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really weird too.
And it never really made sense to me, but it just happens, you know?
Yeah,
it
and like
happens
people
a
are
lot,
so okay
right.
with it.
It happens a lot more than people might realize.
The
You know?
good thing about it though is like going back to like a spiritual topic is that collectively we are going through how do you say it?
Rebirth.
That too, but like balance wise, like a rebalance. I don't know if that's a word. But like essentially the divine feminine, and also with the age of Aquarius coming up to March 2023, the divine feminine energy is really going to be restored within the earth, you know, because for a very long time, you know, the scales have shown masculine energy is really taking the lead. But life is full of duality, you know, it's based off duality, you know, so there's
Right.
not enough yin energy, you know, that feminine energy. So that's really going to be put back into balance, you know. And I've
Yeah.
seen less of those what you just talked about. I'm happy to say though I have seen less of like girls being called like really rude names and stuff for just posting a picture, you know. I know I've had less rude names and more respect when I, you know, post something or act a certain way or say something, which is really good, you know. So that just shows like even in the past like year or two, you know, the trajectory we could potentially be going, you know,
Yeah.
in our lifetime.
If you look at it, I think the reason everything has been so masculine and everything is like you see all these wars are being fought. Everyone's always
I was going to say that.
everyone's always talking about money and this and that and why is this so high? Why is this so low? This guy said this, and it's just a bunch of like arguing and like very masculine, you know,
yeah.
thing. And I think that's also part of it. It's been tipped in that way, and I think it's kind of coming back a little bit, and people are realizing like, hey, that's not the way to do things. You know, there's more than just that. There's, you know, there's so many different sides. It's not just yes and no. There's also a maybe.
And maybe or like
right.
let's listen
and
or let's take a step back.
There's, you know, so you can, and this is something that my therapist talked to me about. So if I have a piece of paper or something, if I have this, right, you can see this. What you see is you see this clear top, right? You see this clear top. But if you turn around on my side, I see this black bottom. But if someone's over there, they see this side of it with that. And if someone's over there, they see this side with the label. And so, but if someone's on top, they see something different. If someone's on the bottom, they see something different. And so you really have to understand it's not just black and white. There's gray and every other color on the spectrum. You know what I'm saying?
You should teach that lesson to government officials, just like everyone higher up. Like you should teach that lesson to everyone. It's important.
It is. It's very important, and it's not just people in the government. It's at the lowest level. It's at people, you know, of all genders and races, and you know, religions and sexual orientations and backgrounds, and people of different opinions and ideals and morals. It's everybody. I could totally agree with somebody on something, but I could totally disagree with that same person on another thing.
Yeah.
You know? And people just have to realize, like, take a step back. Not everything is black and white all the time. There's not always a right and a wrong answer. Sometimes answers change. Answers evolve.
Yeah.
You know?
Because we change as people. And we
Right.
evolve.
Because we are, everybody likes to talk about science. Well, a hypothesis, a theory changes. Throughout, as you see things, it changes, you know? It's not everything can be explained so succinctly and so, you know, simply. So many things are nuanced. We are philosophical beings. We are meant to sit here and question, like, why are we here?
And find new answers.
Right.
And figure it out maybe a little bit too.
And maybe that answer, maybe in 5 years, that answer will be a lot different because
it will be.
Yeah, we've all gone through so many different things, and we will have learned more, and new information will come, and then we'll go with it. But a lot of people want to stick to the same stuff, and you can never work that way if you just stick to the same, keep going. That's the status quo. It's like, bro, that was the status quo 5 years ago. Status quo now is way different. You got to get with the times. You got to stay current, you know? I don't know. I just kind of went off there.
No, you're right, because things are supposed to change, and that's one thing that people kind of don't understand. That's why we stay stuck, in a lot of like our mindsets and a lot of habits and a lot of relationships.
No,
But I do want to talk about relationships
but
specifically.
that brings us to cycles.
Cycles and karmic relationships and like those binding contracts that we might make in the astral planes and all that stuff. Have you even, and you follow like the same like spiritual stuff I follow on Instagram. Have you ever seen the twin flame posts, like where it's just like 11:11 meet your twin flame, any of that stuff?
You send those to me. I don't like.
Really?
Yeah, you send those to me. I don't like follow any of those. I've slowly started following more and more people. I don't really follow anybody like that because I don't really care like
yeah,
that.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just like the reason I downloaded Instagram was for the podcast in the first place.
Yeah, I remember that. I only follow it because I
Yeah.
want it to be in my feed because I've so much, my social media, like so it's all
Yeah.
over the place. So I
Yeah.
would make sure that that's in my feed
The
because
only
it makes my day.
Yeah. Only people I follow are people that I know their intentions and I
Yeah.
know who they are and what they're about. Those are the only people I follow.
Period.
Other than that, it's like I'm not just gonna follow you because I know you. I see that I'm gonna follow. People follow 2,000 people. It's like, bro,
Yeah, that's why for my
I
New
follow
Year's
75 for a reason.
for my New Year's resolution, I'm
Yeah.
trying to get it under like 900 because I was just like, I don't even talk to these people. Mine was over 2,000. Okay, so don't come
The
at me.
app crashed multiple times when I was going through and I'm following people.
Me too.
Because I was like, it was just so many. And I was like, all right, this
Okay,
is
we keep getting off topic. Okay.
Well, all right. So let's get back on it.
I have an issue with people like I don't have an issue, but it's so funny how you haven't like heard about this term twin flame. It's not like how we say like, oh yeah, we're spiritual twins.
Well, I've heard about the term, but I don't see it on my Instagram. feed.
So-
yeah,
A twin flame, I don't know if you know much about this or not, is some people believe this, some people don't. It's very controversial. It's not cut and dry at all, but it's like, oh yeah, you go into like the earth with someone, right? And they might be younger, you might be older, you might live in different places, but like essentially like you meet up with each other, right? Or like you have some type of contact with each other, and you two learn different soul lessons because of the other person. But some people, there used to be this misconception, sadly, like even like 2-3 years ago, that a person's twin flame, right? Like so basically like. There used to be this misconception that like, oh yeah, my twin flame, I met you, now we're gonna be with each other forever. And like you see the issue with that. So like some people would actually believe that like, oh my gosh, like even though my twin flame, this guy is treating me horribly, he's my twin flame, therefore things are gonna work out and I'm gonna be with him forever,
that's how I thought about somebody. I think you know who I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
and me too. And then I quickly learned that it wasn't gonna work, and then I quickly blocked him, And that doesn't mean that the energy is real or that you're not a twin flame, because a lot of twin flame relationships just go karmic, and a lot of new ones are made that are positive, But yeah, it's just those turning tables, and that misconception. It really made my head dizzy.
Yeah, there's been
Now he chokes up because he can't talk.
no. We call each other twins, and I think you're the closest thing to my twin flame.
Oh yeah, you and I are
But-
very.
Because we
Right,
literally
yeah.
like our paths have been so similar. It like it's crazy. Like the time that we came into each other's lives and like the time of our friendship and everything that's happened.
And
is
then
just
everything
so, like,
else, like events and stuff, and then how you say
Right.
something, I'm like, oh, the same thing happened
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah. So, but there was this other person who was kind of the same way, but a little different. I just remember the conversation we had where I knew like, oh, this is like my, I don't know, soulmate or twin flame or whatever.
Yeah.
But then it slowly turned to something else, and it was like, oh, maybe that's not supposed to be forever, because nothing is forever. It can't always stay that way, And it was great, but now it's gone. So it's like, all right, that's how it is, and I had
It's
to
not
learn,
gone, it's just changed.
It's
it's
changed.
just changed.
I
But yeah,
I
it is kind of
never
gone.
talked to that person anymore, but
Yeah.
it's changed. I feel like we're still connected in some way or another because that was a super important relationship. It was at one point, and the effects of it are still here today.
They're always
You
going to
know?
be. Yeah, even
Yeah.
if we hate it. I like how you said, oh yeah, we're connected. We're always connected. Even the person that we hate the most, we are connected to. And even the people that we hate the most can teach us the most about ourselves, and
Yeah.
what triggers us, what we don't like, what we do like, and
And
there's a lot of things that affect that too,
I've noticed this when I get when I like judge somebody about excuse me, when I judge somebody about something, when I sit there and I'm like, man, that person's this or they're that. I started talking to myself and thinking, and I was like, every time that I judge somebody, it's kind of a reflection of what I don't like about myself and what I need to fix with myself and what's
Yeah.
wrong. And I'm like, wow, like that's crazy, like people that sit there and judge like people's looks, like, oh, that person's overweight or whatever. They might have trouble with like their own self-image,
And that's just wrong in general too,
Right.
to just judge someone like that.
Right,
Yeah.
it's wrong in general,
Yeah,
but
that's an example.
that's a good example of like maybe they have problem with their own body image and they're like
Projecting that.
right,
That's called a
projecting.
projection.
Yeah, projecting is the word I was looking for. And I think that's really cool.
It's
I
a
think
valuable
yeah.
lesson to
I think
learn.
about that all the time now. That's how I catch myself, because I'm like, oh, that's something that you need to work on. It's not their problem. It's something that you're being judgmental about, but you're actually looking at it because you don't like that about yourself, or that needs to be fixed with you, but you just don't want to, it rears its ugly head and you don't want to fix it yourself,
What's interesting, because again, we're talking about like this duality thing between us, because with me, I was just way too open-minded. Like I was like, oh yeah, this person, like they seem to be really rude and mean. If you're rude to me and someone else, and I'll like call you out on like your ish, but if it's to me, I have a high tolerance, and I don't care. Like
I
just
used to. Now I'm like, fuck that. Not doing that.
well, now it's just like I see the good in people, not to like extreme extents, because I have my discernment, I will speak up when I need to. But I have, I guess, a tolerance to things. And like you said, I'm not going to be so judgmental anymore. I'm still working on how to speak up, because there's been with this one person in my life, as 2 years just would keep doing like very like, I guess, not understandable actions towards me, or like just things that would just kind of confuse me, say one thing but then mean another, but then like not follow up with their actions. About all this.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah.
And it's just, I was so open-minded that I was like, oh well, it's fine, it's okay. And kind of like out of not nativity how do you say it? Nativity, right? Naive.
Nativity is like the nativity
You
scene.
said,
Like,
yeah. Wait.
yeah.
How do you say nativity?
Naive?
Naivety.
No.
Naivety.
Are you trying to say naive?
Yeah. No, nativity. Like being naive. That's a word. Like naive. Anyways, I was naive. Okay, I wasn't naive, but I was just very open-minded. Okay. About this individual and about certain individuals in my life, but then after I started realizing some stuff, for me, I would have to stand up for myself and start being like judgmental and start like really using like my mind and my voice to speak up. It's very easy for me to speak up like about a situation or a cause or like a group of people, or stand up for someone else.
When you're a little bit removed, when it's not like specifically personal.
But when
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
myself,
Right,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, I'm just as quiet as a mouse, because I just,
Mhm.
a big part of me just couldn't care less. And it's not because I don't care for myself, because I care for myself a lot. I always have. But it's just like, I feel like how people treat others is just a reflection of what they're going through. And that has nothing to do with me. It tells me everything about them and nothing about me, but still, that doesn't mean that I shouldn't stand up for myself.
Right. I used to be the same way, where I would just be like, especially with my friends, people I love, I'm like, they did this to me, but I still see so much good in them, because look at all the wonderful things they've done to me or done for me up to this point. that it was and it still is hard
Yep.
for me to kind of remove myself and be like, no, that was really shitty. They should not have done that. Why am I even putting up with that? And I don't really, put up with stuff anymore. I'll call people out on their stuff, but I still sometimes to a fault see the best in people,
Yeah.
even though they do bad things. I'm like, yeah, well, they were going through this at the time, so I'll give them a break. I won't chew them out totally. I'll tell them I didn't appreciate that, but I won't, really let them know that hurt.
I feel like a lot of light workers are that way though. Like we're so peaceful and zen, and we either want to maintain that, or we just like don't care, and we have like our light worker zen stuff.
I'm sorry. I'm yawning. I'm sorry.
Fourth time, I'm counting. I think that was either the third or the fourth time.
Can we get a yawn counter on the podcast, like in the bottom right corner? We should get a yawn
And it just
counter.
zooms up in your face every time you yawn.
That would be so funny.
That would be so effective. And make you stop yawning.
No, it wouldn't. Because I would yawn more for the content. I would intentionally do a podcast on 3 hours sleep just so that I was yawning more, so that people would laugh and be like, "Oh, ha ha ha, that's so funny."
Anyways, next topic. I like this relationship thing, topic that we do have though. Do you think that coming into the earth, do you think that we choose certain relationships? Do you think you make a contract about how do you think that plays out? Because I feel a certain way.
I don't know. I mean, I've heard so many different things, and I've gone back and forth so many different times.
Well, tell me now.
I
Don't let that
I don't
Libra
know.
rising get to you.
I
Don't be
know.
indecisive. Come
I
on.
feel like I don't have enough information. Quite honestly, I feel like I'm just not sure.
Okay, how about I say something, then you tell me your thoughts about
Okay.
it.
All right.
Okay, so would you kind of, I don't want to say agree, because there's many different theories, and none of it's right or wrong. It's just theories, and how they're, fourth time, and how they're conceptualized. So, first theory. Do you think that, we make, soul contracts with certain people in the astral before we come to Earth?
Yeah, I think that's very possible.
I think that's very possible, too, though. I do. Not with everyone in our lives.
No,
But
definitely not with everyone. But
No.
with some people, I think that there are agreements I'll help you, you help me. We both gotta
Yep.
learn stuff.
But it's not even help, because sometimes it's just this person will be how I see it. Some of these people will be going through a tough time,
Yeah.
but then their energy brings your energy down. It's not even helping at that point. It's
Right.
helping through, I guess it's helping through that
I gotta.
okay, you have to.
Turn the ringer off. Keep going.
It's just you have to be done by 2 though.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's good.
Okay. I didn't want to say that into the mic.
All right, we're
Even though
good.
it could probably hear me. Yeah, so because I believe that souls in the astral, fifth yawn, we do create soul contracts with people, but it's just sometimes I think that we choose it with people whose energy are lower than us, and then that affects us. But it also helps us grow, too.
Yeah, I know. I feel that exact way right now. From stuff
I just got it.
from stuff we talked about before we even went on the air here on the podcast.
It'd be
I
like
know.
that.
It the whole situation is just making me feel like, yeah.
Can you
Mhm.
imagine some karmic connections last for decades? Like what you're talking about,
Oh yeah.
karmic twin flame connections last for decades. Jeez.
Kind of scares me, unless it's good, because some of the stuff I'm thinking about, I just don't want to deal with for that long. But I realize you sometimes you have to,
Yes, you have to go through it.
Yeah.
You have to go through. You have to grow
That's
through it
right.
because
That's the only way you grow.
I will talk about my boyfriend, my beautiful, amazing boyfriend, my favorite Pisces. He's a Pisces.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that 2 years, almost 3 years of pain and trauma, and again, seeing my person who was the twin flame that kind of got corrupted like yours. It's going through all that madness And then like in summer, I think it was this summer, June, July, August, I really found peace. And then in September, guess who I ran into? And it's real and true, and I'm very grateful for that. You're about to yawn again.
No, I wasn't.
Yes, you were. I saw it.
I held it in.
Anyways, it is worth it. It is worth the time. It is worth the healing and
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, sometimes you think it's over, and it's not. Like you ran.
It's
into
never
again.
over. Oh my God!
Yeah.
Wait. You're talking about?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, and I'm still expecting to run into him again. I
Yeah.
feel it.
Yeah. No, and I same thing happened. I was like, all right, it's over. I just gotta deal with it. And then it's like, oh, texted me again, and me back then let me in and let them in again, and I was like, oh yeah, that's great. Whatever. I'm sorry. You're sorry. This is gonna be great. And then it ended up
The
not
cycle
great.
continues back to square
Yeah.
one. And
Yeah.
it's just funny because Mercury retrograde, like we're in Mercury retrograde right now. It just started in shadow period. Does not help any of that.
Right. And sometimes I think you have the choice to break the cycle, and
Yes.
sometimes you don't. I feel like,
Absolutely, that is
Yeah.
true. I will say
Yeah.
that is true.
No.
Yes.
which is difficult because sometimes I think I'm so smart that I try and guess. Like I really think this, and I'm like, I know exactly what I should do, and I try and like game the system and like outsmart, and it's
The
like
Matrix.
right, and it's like nobody. The universe is like, you're not gonna outsmart me. Like you think you've got this all figured out. No, that doesn't work that way, bro.
It doesn't.
You gotta play the game,
Especially with the energy when I was meditating yesterday that I picked up on. It was like right now we're getting into Capricorn season, your sign, that
Yeah.
number 10 energy, 10th house, 10 energy, cycles complete, all or nothing at this point. Are we
Right.
going to continue on the road that we're comfortable with? Are we going to expand ourselves and cut certain things off? And it's so funny because when I was meditating, it was like a collective energy for like more enlightened souls, because there's different groups of souls, and that's okay. But it was like for more enlightened souls who are ready to level up, who do want that, who want to soar, which is very possible. It's like, and who want to reach that, like, I think 12-12 portal, like, again, enlightened like that. It really is like a requirement, like all or nothing, like anything unaligned must go this time, no exceptions, and it's not more so like boxed and rigid. It's just, you really got to put yourself first, and it will help you put yourself first, But for this, it's just so funny because I never experienced the energy like that,
Yeah.
So have fun with knowing that for the next month.
It gets scary. Like the fact that I know this stuff. I put something on my story yesterday. I don't know if you saw it. I said, I've been red pilled, and
What?
yeah, I said I've been red pilled, and I'm not gonna go back, and I'm happy about it. You know the Matrix, like
Yeah.
red pill or blue pill.
Yeah.
I was like, I've been red pill. Like I know all this stuff now, and I'm not going back, and I'm happy about it. But it's like it's super scary. That's how I feel. I feel like sometimes I would be a lot more comfortable not doing all the stuff that I do, not taking the extra steps, going the extra mile, and it would be a lot easier, but I would be a lot less happy.
I think it's because you're also like spiritual too, and I am, and I get that. But for me, it's like really on a spiritual like mindset, because it's just like you break the matrix, once you reach a certain level of enlightenment, and you realize that there's like really no, like Janae Aiko says in a song, like, and I'm sure you're gonna use a Logic reference later, I don't know, but my favorite artist is Janae Aiko, and one of her songs she says there's really no end, there's really no beginning, there's really no win, there's really no like failing and stuff. And it's just like once you break the matrix and like you enlighten yourself, you understand these things and understand that how much we run out of egocentricity, like out of the place of like our own minds, our own thoughts, our own ego. And breaking that matrix can be very scary, even for years. Like I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
My intuition and following that makes me feel vulnerable sometimes, and I'm like,
Yeah.
like, what do I do with this?
No, I'm right with you. I'm making my way out. I'm mostly out of the Matrix, but
How do you know?
there,
Did you try to gain the system too?
no, no, I didn't. I mean, but I
It's-
just I did the right things. I took the information I was given and I
Yeah.
ran with it. You know,
It's interesting because
I followed the White Rabbit.
I love Alice in Wonderland. It was my favorite movie.
No.
The
The,
White Rabbit.
in,
Alice in Wonderland.
no. Follow the White Rabbit is from the Matrix.
Well, it's from that too then.
Well,
But we're sticking with Matrix references right now. Kind of the same.
Matrix is such a good movie.
It really is.
Yeah.
I do like that movie. But what was I gonna say? Darn, Colin. It was gonna be something really, really cool. If it's important, it will come back to me. What was it? It was like with the Matrix. Oh yeah, because we're in Earth school and like we live in Earth. We live on Earth. You're about to yawn again. It's about to be your 7th yawn.
I got rid of it.
I was thinking like we're truly never out of the Matrix though. Like at least our human bodies are still in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. You know, I do think that's good because we have to learn our lessons. We have to be here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But to a certain extent, humans just can be mad weird. No offense, really.
Yeah. I always wonder what would happen. Are there things on other planets that are like? I wonder if the aliens are ever gonna visit us.
I was
and
gonna-
we're
I
the
was gonna
fucking
ask.
aliens.
I was gonna ask
Yeah.
about aliens. We are not aliens. No.
We're aliens to
Well,
other
we're-
things that
yeah.
live out there that don't know us.
I don't think we're a threat though, because.
Well, we could be.
But the thing is, imagine this, and I saw this in a video. Imagine this: if other civilization and a group of aliens can come to us on Earth, then that already tells us that they are way more advanced than we are, because we cannot do that. We cannot go out of our way, visit someone else on another planet.
I think we could though.
We could.
Hitler was talking. I'm not even kidding.
Bro!
Hitler and the Nazis were having meetings with extraterrestrial beings. They were building spaceships. They were building UFOs. They were.
Well, I know the Egyptians were.
The
Egyptians definitely were.
yeah,
Africans definitely were.
aliens came and visited, like the Egyptians, the pyramids, like all that, Stonehenge, all that stuff, Easter Island. But the Nazis were talking to the aliens, and the aliens were telling them what to do and how to. Yes, they were building. There are blueprints for spaceships that they were building.
That's one of those. What's it called? It's one of those theories. What's it called?
Conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy theory. Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
But it's true. There are blueprints that and there are transcripts from generals and stuff saying these guys were talking to the aliens, and the aliens were telling them how to carry out this plan.
I've never read anything like that. I think I remember
Yeah.
you mentioned it to me like once.
I
I-
probably did. I know a lot of the like conspiracy theories and a lot of stuff
Like the Earth is flat.
that's true. I mean, the Earth is flat is kind of a dumb conspiracy theory because there's much bigger fish to fry, you know? That's just me.
I think it's what was I gonna say? I think it's cool though that like, because I definitely feel like some people do have connections with extraterrestrial beings. Excuse me, that was so sad.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I definitely do. And like
Yeah.
also
They're off-world beings.
I feel like otherworld beings, can reincarnate as humans, like depending on like your soul and like where you're from. Because I have never felt like, after I started getting into spirituality and stuff, I never really felt like I was like from here, like like I felt very new to this, and I might be kind of like reincarnated in Earth a few times.
Yeah.
But I started looking into like star seeds and stuff, and like different like planets like I could be from and stuff, and I thought that was really interesting, and I feel like
Mhm.
a lot more people than like what people might assume, a lot more people are from these different places, these different planets.
Where do you think souls come from? Where do souls like what
Ooh.
create? Because here's the whole thing. I think about this all the time.
I never was
So-
asked this.
So say there's God or the universe, right? And that's that's we report to him, kind of.
Yeah, whatever you believe in. Yeah,
whatever it is, we report to that. What does that report to? Who created that? And who created the thing that created that? And who created the thing that created that?
Well,
And you just keep going back and back.
that's so interesting
So
because
something either had to just be, or it's just this continuous line of things that were created.
okay, I have a few things to say because that's interesting. I remember when I think Moses found the burning. Was it Moses? Yeah, Moses found the burning bush.
Yeah.
And then Moses was like, "Who are you? Like, what is this?"
Yeah.
And then God, the voice of God was like,
Mhm.
"I am what I am." So I feel like it's more of a thing that just kind of is, that was always here, you know. And of course, energy changes and takes new form. Eighth yawn. Energy takes new forms and transitions and stuff. So that might have been kind of, I guess, I don't know, kind of an influence to that. But
Yeah.
what I really do believe is that I think it was just kind of just being, you know. And I don't think it matters so much because you were like, who created this and that and this
Mhm.
and that, which is really funny.
Because
and
something had to
interesting.
create, like,
Something.
yeah.
I think it was more so like a transition or a transmutation of energy, and also more so maintaining that.
And where did
instead
the
of
energy
just-
come from?
My point is, we shouldn't be. I mean, in my mindset, I'm like, I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on maintaining, you know, my frequency, because my
Mhm.
frequency adds to the collective frequency, you know, and
Right.
what I put out, what I say, what I think adds to that. Do I want to make the world a better place, not just like with my words, but like energetically, you know,
Right.
not in an unsafe way, but you know what I mean? Like, it's more so about like what we create too, because we're creators too.
Yeah. No. We
Don't ask the
Yeah.
question about who created what again.
everything has to come
From
somewhere.
something.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you can't create something out of nothing. You brought up Moses and the burning bush.
Yes.
I want to ask you about this.
It's my I'm Iranian Hebrew, so I think it's really interesting.
Some of the Bible's metaphors, some of it has actually happened. Like the crucifixion happened. The entire book of Revelation is a metaphor. There are other things like that throughout the Bible. Some of it's metaphor, some of it's true.
Yeah.
Actually happened. Was the burning bush? I've heard the burning bush incident described as like it was a psychedelic experience, because there were like psychedelic masters back then who would use like magic mushrooms and stuff, not as like a party drug, but to like elevate their consciousness and
Yeah.
connect with God and connect with other like less dense beings.
Yeah.
I've heard that was a vision that Moses had after like taking psychedelics.
Yeah.
And people were like, "Oh, that's crazy!" Like traditional Christians, you know, and Catholics and Lutherans or whatever would be like, "No, there's no way it happened. It was
Well,
this." it
some
was
of
that."
them, not all of them,
Yeah,
but
not-
I do
but-
know what you mean.
but I think it's real interesting because that would kind of be like a vision that somebody was God presenting himself in
Yeah.
a different way. I think a lot of those people were like on psychedelics and like enhancing their ability to connect with and speak with God, you know.
Well, it's not just. I mean, I think that's a big influence. I think that definitely could be the case. But also, back then, I remember in the book of Enoch. Enoch was
Enoch.
Okay. Anyways, in the book of Enoch, it just talks about a man named Enoch. He was Ethiopian. He was like a really amazing man who helped kind of spread Christianity and stuff. This was before Jesus, though, I'm pretty sure. But
Yeah,
then,
it was Old Testament.
and
I know
then-
all the books of the Bible in order.
Well, this one's my favorite one. Okay.
I came from private school, so I know like all the Bible stories and stuff. So, you know,
You're reading my flow. I understand.
sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. God created after Enoch passed, after like 130 years of his life, God turned him to an angel named Archangel Metatron. I think it's interesting because back then, not only they probably had psychedelics and stuff, but also like you have to take into consideration their vibration was much higher because they were living for longer. The foods that they eat were they were eating were different. What they were digesting, they didn't have phones or anything. You know, none of it was tampered with. You know, from like the hands of man. You know, so I think just that in it of itself, right? Because there's been times even like I'm a human and like I am on my phone. I I eat healthy, but like I could eat healthy a little bit healthier. You know me. But there's been some times when I'm like in such a great vibe in my room and I'm meditating that I hear things sometimes, or that I sense things, So I think even in it and that of itself, Moses might have just experienced it out of his own, I guess, presence, and out of his own frequency because it was that high. I'm pretty sure Moses was the one chosen by God to like let a group of people free.
Yeah, he was leading the Israelites to the promised land. Now Moses actually never made it to the promised land because God told him, he said, tap this rock with your staff and water will come out. But Moses became so enraged with the people he was leading that he actually broke his stick over the rock. Now, water did come out, but he broke his stick over the rock, and God said, that is the last straw you have. And he said,
this in the Bible?
He said, yes. He said, yes, you were banished from the promised land. Moses never got to go to the promised land. Instead, his brother, I forget his brother's name. It's escaping me right now, but his brother led them.
Was he in Egypt? Was he from like Egypt, or was this another brother?
No, it was Moses' brother. Led them into the promised land.
Huh.
Yeah, I forget his brother's name.
Ramses?
No, wasn't.
So
Ramses.
Moses had another brother then.
No, he had one brother, I believe.
Because I'm using the reference as I'm using the Prince of Egypt as a reference, like the movie.
Let me.
Because I know like his not related brother was named Ramses.
Aaron. His name was Aaron.
Aaron. That dude.
Aaron took over from Moses and led them to the promised land. And
that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's part of the story of Moses. I have one more question. I know we're wrapping this up in a couple minutes.
Yes, sir.
So you were talking about how like we use phones now. Back then when they were much more connected. Do you think we have evolved or actually like we've devolved? Because I look at it as we've possibly devolved because even with all the technology and stuff we have now, we're not as connected. Our phones are not a natural thing. They're not like natural to us. There's things that come second nature to us that we can't describe. Our phones are not one of them. Computers are not one of them. Televisions are not one of them. So do you think we have evolved or kind of devolved a little bit?
Excuse me. I think it's both. Because I'm the type of person to see like the potential in something, and especially like because I have a great collective standpoint of like how something might be seen or how something might happen collectively, and it's just like I feel like this was supposed to happen. I feel like we were supposed to get our hands on technology. It was supposed to be made, especially looking at like, again, I hate to bring astrology into this, but like the zodiac wheel, technology started like to be really made and like advancements started happening in the 1920s. That's when some astrologers believe that the age of Aquarius started. So we're really going to enter into it in March 2023, which is like very soon. But this is a whole transition process. Before something really peaks and goes up, you have to go down first. So I feel like right now we're in a devolve state. Yeah, I definitely agree. I 1000% agree with that. But I think we are going to use it to help us evolve, Again, the sign of Aquarius, you have 4 Aquarius placements. I have like 5 or so.
You have 4. No, you have 4. I checked this.
Well, I checked a different website. Okay, well, there's other websites too where it'll tell you more about your chart too. So I usually check the ones that have like the 14 placement thing, not the 12.
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
You're a Capricorn.
Because you're actually Aquarius.
You're a Capricorn. Stay in your lane.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. That was mean.
I have the widest lane of them all. So if you're, a lot of people try and encroach on my lane. I don't like that.
Anyways, what I was saying. Excuse me. Yeah, it's just the sign of Aquarius is all about like technology and stuff, advancement, collectively interacting with people, revolutions, and essentially like creating a brand new era where everyone's happy, everyone's satisfied. Quite alien type energy, Aquarians do have. We're very different. And this like the time period that we're living in, especially since the 1920s, like all the stuff that happened in America. Yeah, like it's been such a different time period, So right now, I think we're in a state where we're devolving, but it's all to evolve. It has to happen, you know. But I feel like things are definitely getting better. They're much better than they were before quarantine.
Things have
Technology.
things have to get so much worse before they can get even incrementally better. You
Yeah.
know, you have to go through so much pain and heartache to, you know, blossom into something amazing. You know, the flowers can't grow without the rain. So, use yesterday's tears to water today's flowers. You know,
Wow, that's deep.
yeah. We'll end with that, and if you want to say anything to all of our wonderful listeners out there, you have the floor.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Bestie Rock. Very proud of you.
All right. Thank you guys. This has been episode number 26 with Jordan Cook of the Collective Consciousness Show. You can check out some other videos that are floating somewhere in the air here. You can also subscribe to the channel. Click the bell. It'll ding every time I post a new video. Thank you guys. Love you. Bye.